In archaeology, we say excavation without publication is destruction.
The history of Beirut should have been written. It is unknown because not written.
We don't know anything about who was deciding the future of our history.
So what is left of the ancient city of Beirut before the Roman period is very little. Mainly part of the fortification system of the city, and some remains, but otherwise nothing to tell us much about the city itself.
In terms of scale, this is the most daunting urban excavation. You could make an argument for, in the history of the world, the urban excavation in Beirut is the most complicated, because we have a lot of site-specific publications, but we lack some good overall excavation reports of the city as a whole.
Now we know the big lines of Beirut's history. We know when the settlement started, where it started, but we don't know the details of the daily life of Beirut, what they, what was their economy, the kind of thing you find in the excavation.
And I was just going around looking at through holes. I would see like these big walls, beautiful picture, fancy new apartment, concealing antiquity in many ways. And I would just, take my phone, and I would put it in the holes and take pictures. And so I went around doing this for many, many sites in Beirut that I feared that if I didn't take a picture of it, there would be no clue or no evidence that it actually existed. Because the way in which these projects are done, there's no transparency.
You have some laws that protect cultural heritage, okay? You have law number 166, which was in 1933, that governs the protection of cultural heritage in movable and immovable. But you have multiple stakeholders that are involved. You have the municipality of Beirut, you have society, which is a stakeholder, and you have private stakeholders, for example, development companies. You have academic institutions. It's complicated because you have all these stakeholders that are involved, and each one has a different incentive.
If ruins are discovered, they have to call the ministry. The ministry comes and makes a survey. If the ministry decides to excavate, the investor of the land, who bought the land, has to now pay for the excavation. So it's very opaque, it's very unclear how the government negotiates with investors on what's the fate of the excavation. In almost all cases, the fate is the construction continues. There isn't usually a question of maybe it's not, maybe we should stop. Maybe the ruins are more valuable. Maybe the 2,000 or 3,000 or 5,000 year old ruins that tell the story of us, maybe those could be more important in some cases than a Dubai tower. It's a complete neoliberal project. There's no connection to any history. It's not connected to us in any way. Because the government claims that the best solution is to put ruins in the basement of buildings. And they think that this is like a museum. And again, in most of these cases, they will only save a small portion of the ruins that are discovered.
You have some remains, but nobody understands what they are. And this is another problem. In front of the bath, there is a small panel, but not explanatory enough for the people. And it is even more unfortunate that the planned museum that was to be built on top of the ruins, with access to the ruins north of Martyrs Square, is a project that fell into oblivion because of the fights between those in charge of it.
One of the really damaging things is the land reclamation that has taken place. Even in excavations, when excavations are taking place, a lot of the rubble was thrown into the sea, because we have to recall Beirut is largely a maritime city. It is a trading hub, and it's not just about the archaeology that's on land, but it's the archaeology that's in the water.
And let's not forget that these institutions of antiquities that we have in Lebanon have been so weakened, let's say, by neoliberal policies that have preferred privatization over building state institutions. And we really see this in archaeology very clearly, where the Ministry of Culture and the Department of Antiquities have no budget and no political power, almost, that they have to kind of approve every project, every investor.
To know the past and to have somebody explain its importance to the people is very important. And the Lebanese in particular have no real connection to their past. They are sometimes attached to myths and legends of the past, which are not, correct, but which give them some sort of pride or some sort of national pride. But real understanding of the past, of its meaning and of its importance for a nation, I don't think that many Lebanese are aware of it.
These are the kind of sites that you could have people coming to. You could have students from Lebanese schools, being inspired, walking around and having an imagination about what these sites could be, linking us to our past, knowing that we're not just constantly, meaningless and being destroyed and we have meaning, we have a lot of meaning in our land. Also, a lot of these towers, they destroy street life. Street life is also a huge part of what makes Beirut interesting, right? Is the kenja and the shops and the people and the interaction. So these new towers, they bulldoze that idea. And they tell a story of our diversity in Lebanon, right? Our religious diversity in the country and coexistence. And I think a lot of Lebanese, we have this Orientalism where we think, oh, in the West, they're so good. They treat their things good. We hate history. We don't like, we're bad people, And I think what's missing in this conversation is that in those Western countries, right, there was a lot of money and a lot of years were spent producing the archaeological sites that we see.
So we are digitizing all of these finds. So someday we will have this central database and some of it will be public. It will be on a website that is accessible. So you can click on different parts of the map and you can know what archaeology has ever been found in a region.
We need to do a lot of work if we want Beirut to become a touristic city, not only, for restaurants and, pubs and so on, but also a cultural city. We have still, in spite of everything, we still have a lot to show, as part of Beirut's history.